So we're back. So make sure you find comfortable sitting posture. Okay, and we are going to relax our body, right? Sit upright. And once you're ready, then we can close our eyes. Okay, so what we are going to do first is we are going to feel the body, right? So our body has various kinds of sensations with our sense of touch, right? So we can classify them into the 4 elements. This is just a general guideline. You don't have to purposely generate any of the sensations, but if you do feel such feelings, then you can just label them as such and such element. For example, if let's say, if you feel your head, right? So right now we're going to just place our attention at our head, and we are going to sort of do a scan down from top to bottom, starting the head, and we are going to first have a thought. No, we are going to wish this head well and happy. So whatever sensation you feel in your head, any hardness and softness, we call these the earth element. Right? It's categorized them as earth element. And the fire element is hot and cold sensations. Wind is the movement, right? Fast and slow movements. It can be from our blood pumping, right? It can be the wind that we breathe in and out, right? It can be the air blowing at us. And water is the moisture, moist or dry, right? So these are just general classification. Of course, some people might feel other sensation more than that, right? So again, whatever sensation you feel at your head, right, top down, what you need to do is don't cling to them, right? Neither cling nor reject them. So it's not easy to be neutral. So we add this loving kindness element, right? Not everybody has equanimity right from the start, right? So we need to start off from scratch. We wish all the parts of the head well and happy. Right? Whatever sensation you feel, right, from head down all the way to your chin. We cover the head portion first. Whatever sensation you feel at your head, right, wish it well and happy. And then we move down to the neck and shoulder region. And the next segment of the body, neck and shoulders, all the sensations that arise and change or whatever it is. Intensity can be, increased or decreased, or some new sensation appear and disappear. Whatever you feel, just wish that sensation well and happy. Right? Make peace with the sensation first. And if you wish, you can reflect, right? Where does all these sensations come from? Huh? Are these sensations truly yours? Do you have total control over these sensations? And then we can move on to the next segment of the body, which is our chest, right? Our chest and the back, and basically the entire torso. So the torso, from the chest down to the stomach region, whatever sensation you feel, you wish it well and happy. Different people have different levels of sharpness or mindfulness, or different levels of sensitivity. Some people just feel one plain sensation, or some people feel many, many kinds of sensation. Whatever it is, or whatever arises, you just wish you well and happy. Treat it as a guest, come and go, right? There's no need to reject them, don't need to be hostile towards it, don't need to be too clinging. It's not like some form of recruitment drive. You're recruiting people, that kind of stuff. No. So you don't cling to them, don't push them away. Whatever appears, just let it appear by itself, and you just wish all these sensations well and happy. Same with the back of the body, right? The entire spinal cord, the back, the rib cage, everything. So notice we are not doing any form of Qigong meditation. We are not going to control any flow of energy. We are not trying to repair or heal any part of the body. Yeah, we are just being at peace with all the elements. And then we can move down to the hip area, the pelvis, and in the backside region, touching the chair on the floor. So all the sensations, wish them well and happy. Be at peace with them. And then we can move down to the rest of the legs, right? On the left leg and right leg, all the way to the feet. Basically the lower half of the body. We're going to wish all the legs well and happy. Whatever sensation that arises, right? Just wish them well and happy. Okay, once we have covered the entire body from head to toe, right? And sort of quite relaxed or detached from this body, then we can move on feeling the breath. So where to feel? Right? Is the small area below the nostril, above the upper lip, right? One small area. And we are going to feel the same thing, all the sensations of the elements when you breathe in and out, right? Inhalation, right? Wish the breath well. Exhalation, wish the breath happy. Right? No need to control the breathing. The whole idea is now we are trying to slowly, right, withdraw from the senses. So try not to uh, place your attention at too many areas of the body, right? So the smaller the area, the better. So we choose the point below the nostril, above the upper lip. You don't have to feel your lungs, your windpipe, your diaphragm, and so on. So that's one small area. So the same principle applies depending on different people's level of sensitivity. Some people may just feel the physical air, that's okay. So I breathe in, right? Wish the breath well, exhale, wish the breath happy. Make peace in the breath. Some people can feel many micro sensations of the various elements when you breathe in and out. And if you feel many minute changes at a faster rate, then you wish every minute changes well and happy. So basically, the loving kindness to make friends with the breath, right? A lot of meditators, when you watch the breath, they try to control the breath. I want the mind to be quiet. So force or fix the mind there. So the more they coerce, actually, is using violence. When they force the mind, then that is a form of desire, a form of aversion. So the more they do it, and the more they struggle, more stress, more suffering. So the whole meditation session they do is suffering meditation. So for if you're following the instructions based on the Anapanasati, is first have pleasant, pleasant sensation, pleasant feeling. There's no need to control the mind. The mind will naturally want to calm and settle down. So we focus on loving kindness first. Inhale well, exhale happy. So we focus on the cause, and the effect will be the mind will settle down by itself as a byproduct. So if you're able to feel the mind calming down, and that is actually mindfulness of the mind. But emphasis is still on applying right thought, non-hatred, which is loving kindness. Once the mind is at peace, right, that means you find the mind is relatively calm, now settled, then you can teach the mind Dhamma, you know. You cannot straightly teach the mind Dhamma like that. So once the mind is happy, you know, settled, then you can introduce Dhamma to the mind. So how to do that? We are going to observe impermanence of the breath, right? So again, we are going to introduce a thought of non-greed. So basically every breath we breathe in and out is actually a birth and death of the elements. So you breathe in and out, if there are any changes in the density of the air, then there's a birth and death of the earth element. If there are any changes in the density of the heat or the temperature, then there's a birth and death of the fire element. If there's any changes in the movement, the breathing rate, then there's a birth and death of the wind element. And if there's any changes of the humidity, then there's a birth and death of the water element. Right? So we are just going to be mindful of the impermanence or the birth and death, whatever you call it, or the rising and passing away of these micro processes, whichever comes first. Don't have to purposely generate the sensation, right? The whole idea is to also try to be a passive observer without creating anything. We just take note. Within that small confined area, right? We just observe all the things that come and go. And throughout the entire breath meditation, we are just going to take note on this impermanence, right? This birth and death of the breath, because this will create detachment. So this is actually the last 4 steps of the mindfulness of the breathing, mindfulness of the Dhamma. So earlier on, with loving kindness, the mind can settle, right? With impermanence, the mind can settle even further. So your job now is to be mindful of impermanence until the mind keeps settling, until it cannot settle further. Right? There be some kind of standstill, not settle until it cannot settle anymore. Then I call this the stability point. And then the mind is truly calm and stable. Okay, if you think your mind has reached this stability point, that means the rate of settling is so negligible and the mind is sort of very peaceful and calm, then we say enjoy this, we call this base level, ground zero, ground zero. So enjoy this ground zero, basically remember this emotion, how is it like, while not forgetting to be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. why we need to always be mindfulness of the impermanence of the breath. And we need to keep noting because this is actually a right effort. And it's part of right thought and right effort. If once the mind stops, some people say meditation, think nothing, don't need to think anything. Then you get into trouble, right? And the saying, idle mind is the workshop for the devil. So once the mind is too quiet and no thinking, then la la land, go to dreamland. So actually meditation requires lots of skill. Okay, so for those whose minds are calm, then you have remembered how this emotion is like at ground zero, right? What we can do, right? If you can follow, follow. Those who cannot follow, then you just stay in this step further. Okay, if your mind is already calm, right? You think it's calm and stable, and you already take a note of this emotion of ground zero, this base point, what we can do is we can make a wish. So what you can think is, may I let go of this state of mind, right? Just like a child releasing a balloon, right? So you let go of this mind, and what you need to do is just observe the transition of the state of mind. You don't have to do anything, no exertion, no doing anything. The mind will evolve naturally by itself. You just watch the change of emotion. Okay, once the mind has reached another level, right, then there will be a new emotion that will manifest. Most probably a pleasant kind of emotion. There's some form of joy or happiness in compared to the previous base. Okay, then you just need to be mindful of this pleasant emotion and simultaneously be mindful of the birth and death of the breath to let the mind settle down further. So basically it's two in one, right? Mindful of this general emotion, general state of mind, and also the impermanence of the breath. So same thing, mindful of impermanence until the mind reach this stability point. Okay, and if your mind is already, very settled, right? The thing is at stability point and cannot settle any further, then you enjoy what we call this the first level of concentration. So when I mean enjoy, basically means take note of the emotion and also not forget to be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. Okay, once you have tasted the first level of concentration, basically your mind is calm, and if your mind, if you have sort of taken note of that emotion, then we can proceed with the same thing. Right? So it's a bit like changing gears of a car. Right? Once the mind is calm, then you can change gears. So what we can do is make another wish. May I let go of this first level? Right? Just like a child releasing a balloon. So you sit back and just observe how the mind translates and change, while the mind will evolve naturally by itself. Okay, once the mind has reached another level, basically it's the second level, another kind of pleasant emotion will manifest, different from the first one. Right? So what you need to do, same thing, mindful of this new emotion and simultaneously be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. So the same thing, the impermanence of the breath causes this detachment. Right? So you're mindful of two things, the emotion and this impermanence of the breath until the mind reaches this stability point. Right? Same like driving a car, once you reach a certain speed, right, then you can change gear. So say now we let the mind sort of accelerate to a new level of calmness. And if your mind is at stability point, then you can enjoy, right? Enjoy this second level. Basically, it's to remember this new emotion when the mind is calm, and also not forgetting to be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. Okay, once you have tasted the second level of concentration, basically you need to fulfill this prerequisite. You remember, take a note of this emotion, and also the mind need to be calm. Right? So once you have these two, then you can change gear. Basically the same thing, make a wish or aspiration to let go of this second level. It's just like a child releasing a balloon. And we just sit back and observe the changes in the state of mind, while the mind will evolve naturally by itself. Okay, once the mind has reached the third level, right, then another kind of pleasant emotion will manifest, right, slightly different from the second one. So you just need to be mindful of this new emotion and simultaneously be mindful of the impermanence of the breath, right, same procedure, two in one, mindful of the emotion and mindfulness of impermanence of the breath until the mind settles to this stability point. If you think your mind is relatively settled, right, or at this stability point, then you can enjoy this third level of concentration. Right? Basically, it's to remember the emotion and also not forgetting to be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. Okay, once you have tasted the third level, then fulfill the prerequisites, right? The mind needs to be calm, and you can have taken note of the emotion of the third level, then we can change gear, right? So what we need to do is make another wish, right? May I let go of the third level of concentration, just like a child letting go of a balloon. So you just sit back and observe the changes in state of mind while the mind evolves naturally by itself. Okay, so the mind once it's reached the fourth level, and if you have done it correctly so far, then you will experience a new kind of emotion, probably haven't experienced before. This is called equanimity, right? So there's no more happiness, no more joy, right? So it's a different kind of emotion, and you just be aware of this emotion while being mindful of the impermanence of the breath. So continue to be mindful of these two things until the mind settles to this stability point. Okay, so once we are at the fourth level, or rather when the mind is calm and settled, right, then you can enjoy this sensation, enjoy this experience. Basically, is to remember the emotion and not forgetting to be mindful of the impermanence of the breath. Okay, once we have a temporary kind of recharge, right? This equanimity is just to bring us kind of recharge the battery of the mind for a while. Then, of course, due to a lack of time, right? What we can do is we're going to feel the rest of the body. And basically, instead of feeling one point on the breath, we're going to feel the rest of the body, come back to the body, feel the fingers, feel your toes. Feel the back of the seat, right? Feel your contact to the ground. Okay, and then we are going to slowly and mindfully open our eyes, right? So the whole idea is with this slightly or the equanimity that's being brought over, we can try to maintain this quite stability point. That means instead of a restricted area, now is no area. So we are basically the mind is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching more openly. So how to maintain a non-reactive mind, right? So using the same concept, whatever you see, smell, hear, think, taste, touch, remain as impermanent. Of course, we'll due to lack of time, we may not go through that. We'll go through that in maybe the next few sessions. All right, so continue to be mindful of impermanence in whatever you do, in all activities, wherever you place your attention. And the whole idea is, so maintain this peace. That's the most important. Okay, all right, so any other questions? No questions?
Bhante,
Yes.
there's one from Facebook.
All right.
How to practice compassion, as in, if a lot of mosquito, can we spray mosquito repellents?
Okay, all right. Yeah, so okay, because let's say we are Buddhists and we observe the precept of non-killing, right? Then we try not to kill these mosquitoes. A lot of forest monasteries I've been to, they have mosquito nettings in their kutis or in their huts, in their rooms. So they enter the building, they straight away close the door shut, close the window shut, and prevent the mosquitoes from coming in. Right, so sometimes, like in my case, like I'm staying in this part of Singapore, Bedok is a dengue-prone area in Singapore, right? Sometimes there are mosquitoes flying in. Then I have this Tupperware, transparent Tupperware, so I just catch the mosquito, cup it, and then then you release it, release it out back in the open. Once you sort of release it out the window, then close the window again. Right. So this is probably one of the few ways to avoid killing. Right. Hopefully that answers your question. Right. Any other questions? Yes. Okay. Sinwi, right? Sinwi, raise your hand. Yeah.
Yes, Bhante, I have a question as in
Right.
the degree of jhana that you were telling us that we're supposed to feel level 1 and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And how can I know whether I'm in 1 or 2 or 3? Because I was listening to you explaining, but I'm like, I feel the calmness, but...
Okay. Right. No worries. Next few sessions when we have more time, or maybe when you're practicing on your own, then you can go up and down on the various levels. Then you can differentiate. Yeah, probably the next few sessions I'll introduce the theory, right? What to look out for. So, but in the meantime, it's more experiential. You just experience a different emotion. The whole idea is we experience first, then the theory can come in later. A lot of times, a lot of people approach the theory first, and they just recite the theory, and then they don't experience it. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Bhante, Sister Hui Wen has a question.
Okay. Yes.
So, Bhante, when I try to feel the breath, right, I think sometimes I end up like visualizing it. I don't know. Yeah, then I don't know how to stop. Imagining the breath because it's so like it's a very small area, and I find it very hard to keep my point of concentration. So I end up like imagining the breath. So I don't know how to separate that.
Okay. All right. No worries. Yeah. No worries. Okay. So the thinking, we call it in Buddhism, we have this thing called the six senses. So basically in our science, we learn five, right? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. So we have one more called the mind. So the mind is whatever you can imagine or think. So that is our mind, sense, door. So we have six senses, right? So these things are operating all the time, just like our nervous system is always there all the time. Our tasting, our seeing is like there all the time. Our hearing is there all the time. But when we are doing this concentration meditation, we are not reacting or paying attention to that. Right? So if the mind sort of wander to any of the sense stimuli, we don't care. We just bring back the breath. So same thing. If our mind start to imagine things, don't care. We bring back. Right? That mind is a training. Right? The mind wander off, then you just bring back. Right? So it's good to have the incentive. So we sort of keep taking note of the loving kindness or the impermanence, so that the mind will keep on coming back. All right? Okay. All right.
Try. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Any other question? Jen, you raised your hand.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Actually, the going up level 1, 2, 3, 4. To my understanding, is actually the level of energy, right? So sometimes the energy is, let's say, it's very high. Well, then it goes to the head. Then it creates some kind of headache. How to solve this problem?
Okay. The headache is probably because of some clinging. A few reasons. First could be tension in your body. Can be a muscle tension, right? So we troubleshoot by you can relax the body first or do some stretching before doing this meditation. Or if you really want to solve this headache problem, then you can maybe do some relaxation of the shoulders to make sure it's to sort of eliminate, troubleshooting, elimination this problem of the physical factor. Right? Sometimes can be muscle tension, you pull the certain nerves or maybe block certain blood vessel, whatever it is. So we clear the physical thing first, but if it's not physical, let's say it is a mental energy, right? Then probably it's because of still there's some clinging, some desire. So that's why in the steps I always mention about loving kindness first, come the mind, and secondly, this impermanence all the way, right? Detachment. Because once there's clinging, then definitely there will be tension and suffering. All right?
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in the chat, I think there's some questions. There's one from Dean. Oh, this is a private. Okay. All right, I think I shouldn't answer. Maybe I type to you privately. Okay. Okay, so there's no more question. Okay.
Bhante, there's I'm not sure whether okay, this is a question, okay, from Facebook.
Okay.
I just read out the whole thing. Dear Bhante, on the second level, I start to feel crying. Is this normal?
Feel like crying. Crying out of pain or crying out of joy. Some people say for too long, oh, so pain, and they cry. But if it's cry of joy, then probably some kind of emotional, some blockages in the past, and by practicing forms of not clinging, of impermanence, that will help to clear these blockages, some of the emotional blockages. So never mind, just a temporary kind of transition. The more you practice, sometimes you may not have anymore, right? So doesn't matter, no need to worry too much, just a process. Yeah. So hopefully that answers the question. Any other questions from the comments?
So far, that's all.
Okay, all right.
So on behalf of the Facebook audience, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, thank you, everyone. All right. So I think there's some closing chant or something.
It's 10:12 already.
Yeah.
We have spent 1.5 hours.
OT.
So let's say we dedicate the marriage.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'll share the screen. Okay, we invite Bhante to lead the sharing.
Okay, so the Anumodana, right? Okay. Happen to see the screen. Okay, all right. Akasata Jabumata Devadaga Mahidika Punyantam Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasanam Etavata Jamhehi Sampata Punya Sampadam Sabe Deva Sabe Buddha Sabe Sata Anumodantu Sabha Sampati Siddhya. And transference of marriage to a departed. Idamenya dinam hotu Sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idamenya dinam hotu Sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idamenya dinam hotu Sukhita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yavani banapatiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, we have come to the end of this session. Thank you once again, Bhante.
Okay.
See you next week, same time.
Sure.
8:15. Okay, thank you everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Sadhu. Okay.